Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
And welcome back to the Dr. Claudia Show. I've gotten an Ask Me question over at drclaudia.net from Catherine. And she says, Dear Dr. Claudia, I'm 26 and the depression runs in my family. I haven't had full-blown depression, just bouts of the blues. My primary care physician suggested I have genetic testing to look for markers for depression. What do you think? Well, I like that you're aware of the high heritability factor that depression, anxiety, even bipolar runs in families. I mean, it's a very strong gene. My question is, what would you do with the information if you had it? And maybe your primary care physician doesn't understand this, but you can't really take a cheek swab or a blood sample and determine if you have a genetic marker for depression. What you do have genetic markers for is whether or not medications might work for you should you come down with this. Now, when I've had kids come through my practice and parents were suspicious that they were autistic, sometimes we would do a genetic testing, especially if parents were considering having more children, and you can tell which of those genes might be passed down. And so depression is very dangerous. And you didn't say that you had seen a therapist to determine what these blues, quote unquote, are. And maybe they come and go, and maybe they don't interfere with your life, which means they're not a functional impairment. So let me explain what that means. So we've just been through the flu season, and some people got very mild episodes of this. And they felt really kind of crummy, but they weren't out for 1-2 weeks. They weren't in the emergency room. So it didn't impact them as functionally as it might other people. So because depression can absolutely blow up and lay waste to your life at any time, and it's miserable, I say I'd like to see you go for it. Here's why. If you do find that you are having more and more bouts of these blues as you move through your life, you need to have a plan for handling this. Don't let it get so out of control that you don't know what to do when you get there, or you're so paralyzed now, Catherine, that you can't really move. So what I would like for you to do is to get this. It's called pharmacogenetic. That's what it is. Pharmacological and genetics. So pharmacogenetic testing to determine which medications would work for you. Because what is really trying when you have depression or anxiety is to go through all of these trials of medication. Here, let's try a little of this. Let's try a little of that. And that actually can escalate your depression, because if you end up feeling like a science experiment, that may contribute to your depression because you feel like perhaps there's no end in sight for this. So I think that would be part of the plan, but I have more to add to this. Now, when people journal, when people start to record or develop some kind of system to really look at what are they experiencing emotionally, that's really helpful, because the study indicates that if you tell someone, if you pretend to do science and you say you've got a cheek swab and, oh, you're prone to depression, those people are going to give a history that has more depressive symptoms than they would have if they had been told, no, you're not prone to depression. So you see, this could be like a self-fulfilling prophecy. But if you journal, and I'm not asking you to write a lot every day, maybe just create a grid of, hey, what's my level of satisfaction today from 1 to 5? What's my level of irritability? What kind of low mood do I have? What kind of social engagement do I have? And rate yourself on that day. Remember, I was talking about the little boy in the grocery store? Mother took care of it in that environment at that time, and so it was more meaningful. So every day you look at your sheet. You can run it up on the computer. And at the moment you're really experiencing it, say, well, did I really feel depressed? Was I really frustrated? Am I really irritable today? Putting other issues aside, maybe you didn't sleep well, maybe you didn't eat well, maybe your boss is being a fool today. But look at what your core emotional state is, and that will give you the most accurate history, so that when you do go in to see a therapist to say, this is increasing, because you can flip through your notebook of all the pages that you've kept and said, wow, this just isn't my imagination. I am struggling more and more and more. It's time to get in to see someone. So, Catherine, you understand that, right? So when you keep a record that you've made, there's no way to really marginalize, minimize, and deny what's going on with you. So you ask your doctor and others for a referral, and I recommend that you audition these people to see who you click with. And that may cost you money. Yes, I know. But it's going to save you time and precious resources and the misery index, because once you start with that person and you work with them and you share this journal with them so they can see what your path has been, which catapulted you into their office, they'll have a better sense of who you are. And obviously you're intelligent. You are anxious not to get into the blender of a depression, which is just a horrifying situation for many people. And the therapist will be able to help you focus on coping skills, how to talk to yourself about what's happening, and hopefully you will get with a cognitive behavioral therapist, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapist. It's exactly what it sounds like. You use your cognitive ability to change your behavior and to change the way you feel about situations. So pretend that I am suddenly gripped by really, really sharp gut pains. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? Oh my gosh, I'm panicked. And it's over here on the right side, and I know that's where my appendix is, and I still have my appendix. And then in a few minutes, a little event happens, and then suddenly I'm fine. So what was intestinal gas was not appendix, was not an appendicitis attack. So once you have information about what's going on, you can change the way you think about it, threat, no threat. And then it changes the way you behave. You don't panic. So you go through therapy a little bit with this person, and you develop your coping skills, and you review the family history, and you develop insight, and you learn the strategies to emotionally regulate yourself. Because if you've been keeping a journal, that therapist can see all this emotional dysregulation and maybe help you figure out where that came from. It's your job, Catherine. Get out of it. You've got a wackadoodle boss and at least 2 coworkers who are bipolar, borderline depressed. No wonder you're in this environment that's bringing you down. But you don't notice it because it's happened over the course of just a little bit of time. And so it's not your depression, it's their depression, and depression is infectious. Anxiety is infectious, just the same way that happiness is infectious. So maybe it's not even you, but you're a smart woman. You said, I've got this in my family. I could be prone. I see this happening with myself, and now I need to take action. Here's the good news. If you establish a relationship with a therapist, when life gets bumpy, and it always gets bumpy, or you just have questions, you've got a relationship in place where you can go and get the straight talk. You trust this person. They're reasonable. They're sensible. They make sense. So when you're at that high altitude of the misery index, if you've ever gone on FlightAware, they have a misery map. I love that. So if you're in your life, let's just go with the flight metaphor here, and you hit turbulence, then you have someplace to go so that you can have a safe landing. So, all right, when we come back, we're going to be talking to Miranda, who's in a dispute with her mother about how much she is praising her child. You are going to want to hear this because, boy, we do a lot of that. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-308-4727. That's 800-308-4727. 800-308-4727.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
And welcome back. As promised, we're going to take an Ask Me question that comes over at drclaudia.net. You can also call at 833-400-5050. But Miranda is saying, "Hi, Dr. Claudia, please settle a dispute." Well, that's a big word. "I'm having with my mother. She says that I praise and reward our 5-year-old son too much. Is there such a thing?" Oh yeah. He seems to enjoy it. Not so much. What happens if I stop suddenly? These are really good questions, and some fabulous research has been done on this. And I know that when I tell you about some of these dynamics, you're going to say, yeah, that would work for me. So I agree with Grandma. Surprise! I usually agree with moms, but this time, Grandma, you've got it. Miranda, not only are you overpraising him, but you are likely over-talking and intruding in his private space in his mind, which is not only a space, but a time. He needs time to explore and think and create in order to develop his cognitive ability. He needs to be left alone. If he doesn't need anything from you, he's going to be quiet and play. It is not your job to intrude on his space. 5 years ago, somebody cut the umbilical cord. Ding, 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 ding. Let him do his own thing. He does need you to help him with food and clothing and that kind of stuff. But when he is working at play, leave that kid alone. Now, it feels to me, and I have enough here for an arrest, but not enough for an indictment. But you're probably also using what we call inflated praise. So when he comes to you from kindergarten with a picture, you don't say it's beautiful. You say, "It's incredibly beautiful, isn't it?" And you're supposed to do a little of that because you are one of his biggest fans. But I'm going to tell you how that's going to come back to bite you. If you interfere, first of all, when he's sitting quietly and playing, you are interrupting his thought processes. He is developing cognitive abilities, cause and effect. He is actually learning how to, through play, test out hypotheses. How many blocks can I put up here before they fall? He is learning how to think, and you are interrupting that. He is observing. He is determining what he can get away with and what he can't get away with. So if you keep over-talking, he's going to stop listening to you. I have said before multiple times that we mothers over-talk. And that's because children train us well. So when they're young, within their babies, really, we are using a language that we have dubbed motherese. And we have high-pitched voices in order to get their attention. And we speak in rhymes and rhythms and a cadence that allows children to learn how to speak and to engage our faces, because when they engage our faces and hear us speak, it turns on parts of their brains. Ping, 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 ping. Little neurons are connecting at rapid rates. Boy, so rapid. But it feels to me like you have not yet observed that he is his own human being. He is his own individual, and he's got stuff going on in there, and you need to back away from it. You need to learn to be comfortable with the quiet so that he can learn to be comfortable with the quiet. Now, he is at an age where he still enjoys your attention. That's going to end sooner rather than later, because you're going to be giving him a lot of commands as to clean up his room, get out of bed. It's time for breakfast, brush your teeth. We are just drill sergeants of the Paris Island quality. And if you don't start training yourself now, because seriously, in about 10 minutes, he's going to be a teenager and he is not going to listen to you. because you might be able to get away with some of this stuff with girls because we have these language saturated brains. But when it's a boy, you have to back off. And there used to be this great show called Dragnet, and it's an old-timey black and white thing. And Jack Webb, I think it was one of the detectives. I think that's the actor. And he was very terse about everything. Just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. And so when you talk to your child, when you talk to him and you want to really communicate, get his attention, give him just the facts, not all of this honey, sweetie, lammy pie stuff, and then back out. So that when you really need to talk with him, you have trained him that you are not going to overwhelm him with all of this language. You're going to give him what he needs, and you're going to leave the premises. So I understand what you're saying about, well, I've trained him now to really pay attention to me. So, okay, you've trained him because you're going to start babbling at him. And so when you walk by him and he looks up, if he looks up at you, give him a thumbs up, a high five, hey there, or whatever, and just keep on moving. This is what we know about praising kids. So when you praise kids for who they are instead of their effort and attitude, it's not helpful because it causes them shame and humiliation if they don't end up being who you want them to be. You can't fool kids. When they experience authentic success, that means somebody who's not really invested in them, mommy, daddy, grandpa. When they get praise from that person, that teacher, that coach, they will really accept it as a sign of success. Their grades. So focus on their behavior, their positive attitude, their genuine effort. And whatever you do, don't praise them for the things they enjoy doing. It's called the over-justification hypothesis. And yes, we do have a name for everything. But when you praise kids for things they like to do, they lose interest. And when you overuse praise, they can't tolerate constructive criticism. So I agree with Grandma. Miranda, you are overpraising him. I'm hoping that you've learned the damaging effects of being punished by praise. So, it's a behavior that you've developed, and you need to back off of it, and I have confidence that you'll do that. So we'll be right back. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Come on in, sit down. Let's talk about your relationships with your family members, both current and previous. You know, that whole in-law, outlaw type of dynamic. Your spouse, your kids, your relatives of all kind, your bosses. Nobody's off limits. We talk about everybody. So you can reach me at 833-450-50, 833-450-50. I'm Dr. Claudia McCulloch, your host, answering your questions, America. You can also go on drclaudia.net, that's drclaudia.net, and click on the Ask Me button and send me a question. And I am on Facebook, like the rest of the planet, and I'm at Dr. Claudia McCulloch. All this doctor stuff, good heavens. Dr. Claudia McCulloch, MCCULLOCH, cha-cha-cha. I got my degree from Temple University. When you actually got the PhD, everybody in the department, everybody would doctor you to death so you would realize you weren't all that in a Rubbermaid of chips. You see, in my family, we don't keep potato chips in the bag. So you're a Rubbermaid of chips in my family. So it's like, you know what? You're not that big of a deal. So you've just worked really hard. And yeah, you're maybe a little bit smart, but we just never did that doctor stuff. First of all, the pediatric practice that I had, doctor means something different to children. And I did not want to have that connotation with them. So they called me Miss Claudia. And I've always been of the belief that, of the observation really, that you get to have a special title if you prove to me that you're competent and capable. So there we are. So here's Amanda. She sent me an Ask Me question. Oh, this is something. Hi, Dr. Claudia. I've read a lot of articles on your blogs and many other sources. I wanted to ask your opinion about having a glass or two of champagne when my husband and I attend our closest friend's wedding next week. I am 32 weeks pregnant and we're doing well. Thanks, Amanda. You really don't need me to answer this question, Amanda. I feel as though you're asking permission from me. So when something really awful happens, it's, well, Dr. Claudia said I could. I'm not doing that. I am not doing that. If you have sat in my chair for as many years as I sat there evaluating children whose birth mothers drank while these kids were floating in the womb, you wouldn't even ask me that. But here is the question, the one question every parent is going to have to answer until the day they die or otherwise stop being a parent. And that is, when you get to this juncture and you're going, do I, don't I, do I, don't I? You say, can I live with the consequences? You already know the answer to that. It's no, because whether or not your child is impacted by your lifestyle habits, air quotes, if you drink on the 32nd week, the 4th day, and you haven't had a lot of food in your gut, and maybe you're coming down with something and you're having a beer, that might impact your baby in a way that if you had food in your stomach and you didn't have a virus. So this is such a fluid situation. You never know what is going to impact your child when. So at 33 weeks, let me give you a picture in your womb here. The lungs and central nervous system continue to develop. So they started way back there. The brain and the spinal cord started back there. It's called the neural tube. Way back. The first 3 months. A lot of women don't even know they're pregnant then. They're using Tylenol. They're using, they're drinking. They're taking over-the-counter medications. So you really have to, be prepared to be pregnant and know when to ask the right questions. And your baby's lungs are going to continue to develop, and the brain and the spinal cord are going to continue to develop. 2 glasses of champagne? Really? No. No. You don't need to do it, and you don't need the regrets that come with it if something goes wrong at birth. If your child ends up with learning disabilities or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, I don't care who tells you, Amanda, your 2 glasses of champagne had nothing to do with that. You're not going to buy it. You're always going to blame yourself. And so why are we even getting into this discussion? You have yourself your sparkling cider the way the rest of us mommies did it. Now, Amanda, none of this guarantees anything. I have had children come through my practice with devastating disabilities just because of how the sperm hit the egg, and it feels like every genetic weakness on all sides of the family came together in that child. And this mother was so careful. Well, these mothers were so careful. They didn't eat chocolate. They suffered through headaches because they didn't want to take the Aleve, Advil, Tylenol, whatever. They didn't want to hurt their babies. So the 2 glasses of champagne could have an impact, or it might not have an impact. There are no guarantees. When you conceived that child, you signed on to the biggest crap game in life, rolling those dice all the time. It requires so much luck that it's nauseating. You can do everything right and still end up with a real tough situation. Don't drink, Amanda. I guess I'm saying this to protect you as much as your child. So your child is well on its way. If you gave birth right now, there's probably like a greater than 85% chance of survival. But you can't live with what you're about to do. So just don't. I think that answers the question. Anybody else want to ask me if you want to drink or smoke or carry on or do whatever you're going to do while you're pregnant? Don't. This kid has 40 weeks that really will dictate the rest of his life. And you don't want to watch this child struggle to read and say, did I do that? Did I do that? Yeah, I can't guarantee that you didn't. So let's just be intelligent about these kinds of things. Speaking of intelligent, look how smart these second graders are. Now, really, third graders are my people, but I'll take second graders. They're equally divine and wonderful. So we had the flu, right? This whole flu scenario. And the doctors keep saying, wash your hands, wash your hands. So kids don't really buy into that, right? They're experiential people as anybody else. So this classroom, 90 second grade students from 5 classrooms at Virginia Beach School. This is fantastic. The kids were asked to put their hands flat into this jelly that grows bacteria if you have it on your hands. And then they washed their hands. Some washed their hands, some sanitized. And then they did the same thing. And after 5 days, you should have seen the stuff that was growing. So kids now know that if they put their hands in their mouths, ooh, the stuff that was growing over here is going to be in my gut. Ooh, it's not. So it really drove the point home. So what ended up happening is the people came in and they did a slideshow of all this, and they trained everybody in the school. And so they found out that hand sanitizer actually works best. And what happened was kids improved their hand washing 60 to 100%. And they reduced their number of absences over the next month by 71%. So they really proved to themselves, and I know second graders. I know that they were monitoring each other, especially the girls. No, you didn't wash your hands. You see that stuff that was growing in the Petri dish? So they helped them to see what kind of bugs they were growing by looking through the microscope, and those things look really ginormous, but you really can't see them. So I love this idea. You see what happens with kids? This is why I work with children. They are so teachable. And yet people who know they shouldn't be drinking while pregnant still want somebody to give them permission to go out and have a good time. No, not on my watch, darling. You do not get to get away with that. Okay, this is Dr. Claudia. We'll be back in a moment.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-308-4727. That's 800-308-4727. 800-308-4727. Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
And welcome back to the Dr. Claudia Show. And we are going to take a question from Jill. Jill sent a question a little bit ago over the Ask Me button at drclaudia.net. And Jill asks, well, she more or less states at this point, I'm 27. I've been dating a guy for 3 years. I teach middle school science. I have a stable life. I guess this is in contrast to her sister, who's 2 years younger, is wildly competitive and flits from one thing to another: job, friends, boyfriends, apartments. Okay, here's the issue. Over the past 2 months, my relationship with my boyfriend has been cooling, and their interactions, boyfriend and sister, it sounds like, are heating up. They're flirtatious. She's depending on him to do things, so I see she's doing some attention-getting behaviors here. Takes her places. They're acting more like a couple than we do. What's happening? Seriously, Jill, you want to know what's happening? Your sister has just done the best thing for you. She has given you such a gift because she has revealed this guy for who he is, and he's a dog. No offense to dogs. He's a player, and he's doing the side-by-side comparison, and he says, wow, you know, she's a little exciting and a little wilder, and I think I like it. I wonder what they're doing when you don't see them. So you can do two things. You can talk to him about it, and he'll deny everything, and she'll deny everything. And so, or you can pass on him and see if she takes him up. Now, she's so competitive with you. This is an arena in which she can really compete because she's probably attractive and attracts men very easily and knows how to get attention. And you sound like you don't. You like your life the way it is, but the two of you, your boyfriend and you, may not be a good fit. And perhaps you didn't realize this, or perhaps he didn't realize it until she came along and threw a wrench in the monkey here. So I would say to not be really aggressive about it. He may not be aware because she's training him to be responsive to her. Don't jump to conclusions, but really question his character, because if he's willing to behave like this in front of her, in front of you rather, with her, what is he doing when you're not around? So it goes back to those people in Target who are smacking their kids around. And if they're doing this in public, what are they doing in private? And of course, we always need to intervene on behalf of kids, but you need to intervene on behalf of yourself, because something has tickled his fancy. He is likely to have an itch and an urge for whatever that tickle is tickling. And you need to know if you should be investing any more time in this guy. And like I said, your sister may be giving you quite the gift by revealing who he is. Maybe he didn't know that he was this person. Highly unlikely. He knows who he is. Is there something going on with the two of you that really makes the relationship beneficial to him, and you've made his life too comfortable and cozy or whatever? Maybe you're not making too many demands of him, and it's kind of a soft spot to land while he ventures out and explores other opportunities, shall I say? So I'd look at this a lot, and you may just want to keep all of this to yourself until you have enough evidence to convince yourself. So just be an observer, but you've already noticed that your relationship is cooling. I don't know if that means sexually or if he doesn't seem to be as engaged and interested with you. Now, maybe he is feeling that he needs to get her on his side somehow, because it'll make it easier for you, because you may have shared some of the situations with the competition with him. Your relationship with her is not his business. He is not your proxy or your agent. And I get the sense that you could just handle it just fine. But, yeah. So be prepared that he may come up with that excuse if you were to confront him. Speaking of things that I just don't understand that people do, have you heard of engagement ring piercing? Look at the look on your face. Okay, get this. All right. If you've ever wanted an engagement ring but find the band to be too cumbersome, you know what? Just take it off. This style may be for you. Okay, here we are. You get a single diamond implanted into the skin of your ring finger. Okay, I'm folding over in pain here. So the ring is placed with a dermal anchor. Already, I don't like it. Listen to how this happens. It's not like a traditional piercing that goes in one side and out the other to place a dermal stud. Piercers must first remove a circle of skin with a dermal punch before using small forceps. Okay, this is starting to sound like surgery. To insert a dermal anchor into the resulting hole, and then the bling is attached to the anchor. The painful procedure, well, I should hope to kiss a mule it is, results in a floating jewel on the middle of the ring finger. It may be permanent, so you better be sure about this relationship. And it could be rejected by your body or migrate as cells grow around it, and it could leave a circular scar behind. I think Bruce Willis's daughter, has learned her lesson on this. I'm going to tell you about that when I come back. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
And welcome back to the Dr. Claudia Show, where we discuss all things family. I like to think that we offer real hope for real people. You don't have to read all those books. I've got it covered. I've read them all. I've taken notes. I've studied them. I passed all the tests. I'm giving you the truth about things. You may not like it. It may not be pretty, but it's reality, and we need to deal with reality. And before we left, I talked about Rumor Willis, and we had been talking about that getting a diamond put in on the ring finger, and it requires an anchor, and you put it under the skin. And I was getting the vapors listening to myself talk about that. But Rumor Willis became involved with her Dancing with the Stars dancing partner, Val Chmerkovskiy. Close enough? Easy for me to say. But when he moved on in the relationship, she was left with a tattoo on her right bicep of them winning, the victorious couple, winning the Dancing with the Stars competition. And this tattoo was of the two of them in a lunging, longing embrace. So you know it was no small amount of real estate on her arm. And so when, she's pretty besotted by this guy. And of course, they went on to win, as I said. Now, a couple months later, he was rumored to be involved with another Dancing with the Stars star, Jenna Johnson. And so it was painful, but I think Rumor had the tattoo removed. So we had discussed this months ago about couples tattoos. So if you're going to put something permanent on your body, make sure the relationship is permanent, because there's always a little something left over from tattoos and from these, whatever these people are doing with their fingers and implanting these. It sounds like it might go into the bone when they stick that engagement ring. I don't know. It sounds like piercers are really starting to do minor surgery. Anyway, we're moving on. We're going to talk to Brenda. She just sent a question over at askme@drclaudia.net. My son is 27 and seems lost. What 27-year-old isn't? I mean, many are and many aren't. But he's disheartened and I think depressed about the status of his life. He's comparing himself to kids he went to high school and college with, and he gets really down when he sees them getting married, having kids, getting promotions and jobs. The job he has is a dead ender, and he thought he'd have it for 6 months 3 years ago. So he's been in this quite a long time, Brenda. He still lives with us. Can you give me some guidance? Okay, action. We need action here. One of the reasons that pain is so important is that it motivates you to do something about it. Same goes for anxiety. So it feels to me like your guy is wallowing and he's never faced this kind of crisis before. But in every crisis, there's an opportunity for growth. Just know that. You are not to feel sorry for him. You are not to feel bad for him. But you are responsible for helping him to upright himself a little bit, because he's in really good company, Brenda. Apparently, a study was taken, and when I was looking at some of the dynamics that millennials are going through, apparently quite a few of them are experiencing something called, 60%, I think the article said. They're experiencing a quarter-life crisis. Now, people typically experience midlife crisis between 40 and 60, and that's when they kind of stop in their tracks and look around and say, my gosh, do I want to do this? No, I want to divorce my husband. I want to get a hot dancer and a Corvette, and I want to live my life. I'm tired of doing the laundry. I'm tired of going to work. I'm done. I'm done with all of that. And they blow up their lives, and there's no coming back after that, because wow, I've seen those happen in my practice, and it's really amazing. And there's very little insight on the part of the person who's actually doing the blowing up of the family. your son may have too much insight. He's comparing himself a lot to other people, and that's creating a lot of issues. So millennials are struggling with, the top three items: jobs, finances, and personal pressure. And many of them feel like they're at rock bottom. I mean, they're not even halfway through their lives yet, for heaven's sakes, especially considering they have a life expectancy of about 70, 78, 80. So you're going to have to take control here, Brenda, and guide him through the plan. So what I'd like for you to do is sit down with a really big piece of paper, because I want him to get perspective, because he's really stuck in the now. And it was like what I was saying with the person who was asking the questions about, am I going to get depressed? It's all over my family or whatever. And when you start down that depression road, you get so stuck in the now that you can't see the future, and you lose a lot of serotonin from the brain, which is the body's natural antidepressant. And it also helps you to problem solve by allowing you to use your brain, for heaven's sake. So sit down and show him where he is. On the left-hand side, he's 27, and draw a long line to about 80. Why don't we just say that, 80? And tell him that this is all the life he has to live. And what I'm asking you to do here is to remove the hand-wringing and then wailing and gnashing of teeth and plug in the intellect. When you have a problem, what do? You think back about all the other times you've solved these kinds of problems. Well, he hasn't had that yet, because apparently his life was tootling along until he got out of college, and he likely landed into that part of our economic history where there were no jobs. And so he's got this fatalistic mentality of, I'm never going to get the job I want. Well, pay attention. Will you snap out of it? There are jobs all over the place now. You've got to work real hard not to find a job. So let's identify the things that are the most problematic for him. Now, you said in part of this that he's spending money he doesn't have. That needs to stop. Financial management is completely under his control, as is getting a job. The social stuff will happen once he feels better about being the adult he needs to be. He's not being an adult. Maybe he needs to understand a little more about financial management, and there are all kinds of programs out there that teach them the basics. It just requires self-discipline, but he feels so sorry for himself. Wah, wah, wah. He's sitting on the pity pot having a pity party. No, I'm making Mike laugh. No, he's on the pity pot and he's having a pity party, and you're not getting involved in that because you were not given a ticket, but you are being given the bills for it. So let's ask him what his passion would be. So here's the story about this. He needs some vocational assessment. You can go to the National Career Development Association. I'll put a link to that on the show notes. Let's see if he can identify what gets him excited in terms of work. We have to frame this whole period as a time to really know what he doesn't know, because you learn more from your mistakes than you do from your successes. What are his goals? What does he want his life to look like when he's 30, 35? And you might want to consider something called solution-focused brief therapy. And they have what I call the have-at-it approach. They usually open up with what's called the miracle question, and that is, how would the future be different if this problem were gone? If you could have the job you want? It looks to me like it's all about the job. So if you go on your county psychological association and you look for therapists who specialize in solution-focused brief therapy, I may put up a link to that so you kind of learn about it. It's not forever and ever and ever. It's not, how do you feel about it? Forget that stuff. He needs to start working on his future. And part of that is jettisoning the job that he has, which is dragging him down. So if we get him employed in a job that makes him feel good about himself, most other things will fall into place, and then he can get his own life and get out of yours, for heaven's sakes. Good Lord. Brenda, what are you living with here, darling? Okay, this is the Dr. Claudia Show. I'm going to be back with more goodies. Just come back. We'll have so much fun. I promise.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question, 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
And businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-308-4727. That's 800-308-4727. 800-308-4727.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
And welcome back. We're so glad to have you. You know, you can always call me at 833-400-5050, 833-400-5050. You can go on drclaudia.net, click on the Ask Me button and send me a question, or you can go on Facebook at Dr. Claudia McCulloch, MCCULLOCH, cha-cha-cha. People spell my name wrong. What can I tell you? I had to develop something where people would understand how it's spelled instead of the OUGH stuff. Well, anyway, I told you we'd have fun when we come back. We're going to have a little fun, and then I'm going to tell you some shocking stuff. People are so exciting. So exciting. So there are these giant multi-person floats that you can put in your pool. And some of them are so big, I think they'd work better in a lake or a river or something. These things are so much fun. They're like giant, wildly pink unicorns and pizzas. There's an 8-person, so cool. There's an 8-person pizza slice pool float. And lots of fun stuff. It just looks like a great old time. So, you know, summer's coming. I know spring hasn't even gotten here. And that's the 20th. Yeah. But I'm rooting for summer. That's happening on June 21st. And since the article that I saw said that these are sold out, you best get in there now and get one ordered. I will put these on the show notes so that you know exactly what I was seeing, because this is just so much fun. And I saw this request. This is so darling, adorable, and makes perfect sense. Knox County Humane Society in Illinois was noticed that the pets that they have waiting there for forever homes. Do you love that? Oh, they love to lounge on chairs, and so they're asking people to bring in their old chairs, and so the animals can lounge around, and apparently it really reduces their anxiety. Go get a couple of dogs and cats while you're there, okay? Just do it for me. So everybody can have a home and live happily ever after. Something else I saw, which I've missed it, it's an inflatable pub. And it blows up like one of those bouncy houses, and you can entertain like 25 to 50 people in it. So I'll put that link up for next year's St. Patty's Day. All right, let's get into the serious stuff. We have, for as long as I can remember, my parents talked about this. I was a little kid, and they were talking about how Social Security was going to go belly up. All right, let me tell you something. Wait till you hear this, because this is getting ready to happen, because we are in 2035. There are going to be more people over 65 than the amount of children we have, which means, yeah.
Retirement age goes up.
Well, the retirement age is still going up, but you still have workers to support that whole platform. And if you look at the Social Security statistics, I think during, maybe just after World War II and in the 60s, there were like 30 people to support each Social Security recipient. That's not going to happen anymore. And these people win the Dr. Claudia Disappointing Parents Award. I almost don't even want to tell you this. There is a couple in Pittsburgh who waterboarded their 12-year-old daughter. They waterboarded their 12-year-old daughter, and they got the idea from a movie. And here's the thing, they did it wrong. Because, so what they did was I don't know what she had done here. What could any kid possibly do that would cause you to waterboard them? I mean, if they're that awful and their behavior is so dangerous, you get other authorities on board, right? You make a bigger group of people, a team to help you. So what they did was they taped her into a chair with packing tape, and her hands were tied behind her back, and rags were shoved into her mouth. And then the girl said that water was poured over her mouth to keep her from screaming and breathing. And they allegedly told police they got the idea of waterboarding as a form of punishment from a movie. Now, I actually had to look this up. about how waterboarding is actually done. And you do confine a person to a chair, but you put a cloth over their face and you pour water over them so that it floods their mouth and their noses, okay? And there's a lot of choking and you get a sensation of drowning. Now, people don't actually die of the actual waterboarding event, but here's what happens. A spasm can be caused in the throat that closes up the airway, and people die of asphyxiation. It's also known as dry drowning. But what is so incredulous about this situation is there is a plea deal underway to reunite the family, and the girl is all for it. Now, if she's a sociopath, she's playing the right game here, because she will always be able to manipulate her parents by saying she'll call the police. So my question to all of you is, do you think reunification is a good idea here? Now that parents are going to serve 5 to 7 years probation, and they're going to be reunited under supervision, this kid is going to hold these parents hostage, which is not a healthy thing for her, because they are always going to defer to her, and that means this young girl could really get herself into a lot of trouble if she doesn't have parents who are holding the line. I have no idea why these people aren't in jail being charged with attempted murder. What is going on here? No, I don't know. I don't know all the facts, and maybe the authorities evaluated them and determined that, they really don't have a lot of smarts and they got desperate or whatever. Parents, ding, 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 ding. Scarlet fever is back. I'm going to put on the show notes where I saw this and some of the warning signs you should look for. So please talk with your doctors about it. When this stuff starts, it travels like wildfire, because we're always traveling, aren't we? So be careful of this. This is really, really an ugly, ugly situation, and you just don't want your child to go through it. And, when you have a thought and you have a belief, you automatically find evidence to support it. I didn't have to look far, because, what we found out is, I think it was Wednesday, a teacher who was teaching here in California, who was teaching a gun safety class, a public safety class, injured one of the students when the gun he was using discharged into the ceiling. We don't need to have guns being in the hands of teachers. I think as a policy, I'd like for trained people to be in the classroom. So you know my feeling about that, and I hold a hard line about that. So thank you for joining us. We'd love to have you. I hope we have fun. I hope we inspire you, inform you. At any rate, give you more tools to be the best person and parent you can be. So this isn't goodbye. It's just see you later. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
The Dr. Claudia Show educates and informs. No therapeutic relationship is established between the listener and Dr. Claudia. No liability will be assumed by Dr. Claudia or this station for any alleged damage. For professional help, please consult a specialist.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy